This conference will now be recorded.
In today's class, let's go to the interview questions of the data services, what they will be asking in your real time. Okay. So the first question is, what are the different data types that are available in your OData service? So if you see the OData service, so I already told you, so what are the different data types that are in ABAP? So character, integer, like that you will be having. But when you go to OData service, you will be having SHEW, you will be having EWM. If I go to the properties, you will be having these are the data types EDM type, EDM. So you will be starting with EDM string. So whatever the characters which you are seeing will be always be converted into your EDM string. So it will always starts with your EDM. So EDM binary, EDM boolean, EDM byte, EDM date time, EDM time, EDM decimal, EDM float, EDM integer 16, like that you will be having. These are the different data types that are available. Let me take the screenshot and let me put that in your presentation. So these are the data types that are available in your OData services. So what are the different classes that will be generated when we create an OData service? What are the different classes? What are the different classes that will be get generated? As I already told you, you will be generating with MPC, MPC class, DPC class, MPC extension, and DPC extension. If I go to the runtime artifacts, so you will be having this DPC extension, DPC, MPC, and your MPC extension. So the classes that will be generated are MPC, DPC, MPC extension, and DPC extension. So these are the abstract classes. Abstract class. Abstract class, and these are derived classes or inheritance classes, inheritance concept. So the MPC extension is being derived from your MPC, whereas the DPC extension is inherited from your DPC class. So DPC, so inheritance, inherited from MPC, and this is inherited from DPC, from DPC class. Now, what is the difference between an MPC, MPC extension, DPC, and DPC extension? What is meant by MPC? What is meant by MPC? MPC stands for your model provider class. Provider class, whereas DPC stands for data provider class. Provider class. So this model provider class will act like as a communication for communicating between the OData services as well as for your SAP ABAP. So whereas the data provider class, it will contains the data which we will receive from which we'll receive from the OData service or the HTTP URL. HTTP URL. And as you know, MPC extension is mainly inherited from your MPC class, and DPC extension is derived from your DPC class. I'm not going to worry about that. Next, in which class you will be writing your ABAP logic? In which class we will be writing your ABAP project? So we will be writing in DPC extension class. We will be writing in DPC extension class. What is meant by an entity? Entity means no. What is meant by entity? What is meant by entity? Entity is nothing but an ABAP structure. So that's what first we will be doing. So we will just right click over here and then we will be creating or importing from DDIC structure. So then your entity types will be created. That is called as your entity. So which is nothing but your ABAP structure, which will hold one single record in runtime. Okay. Now, what is meant by an association? What is meant by an association? No.
Relationship between the entities.
Right. Relationship between the entity types. Entity types. And here we will maintain the cardinality. So what is meant by the cardinality? It will tell you how many, so what is the relationship between your two entity sets. So when you maintain the, it's like a join condition. If I say this, it's like a join condition. So just for your understanding purpose, I was telling you this. So what are the different cardinalities that are available? So 0, 1. So 1, 1. 0, n and 1, n. So these are the different types of association types you will be having. So 0, 1. So you can have, you may be having a 0 record, but a 1 record will be available in your item. So 1:1. For one header, you will be having one item for sure. This is called as your inner join. This is called as your inner join, and this is called as the inner join. These two are called as your inner joins, and these two are called as your left outer joins. So this is called as an association. So when we create an association, it will create a, what it will create? It will create a navigation. So when we create an association, it will create navigation between the entities. What is meant by an entity set? No.
Internal table.
Internal. So for entity, when you create this, you will be selecting your default entity set. So it will create an internal table. Creates an internal table. So it's a simple thing. Next, what is meant by an association set? So association is relationship between these two things. The same way association set is relationship between your internal tables. Relationship between the internal tables. So T code for SCGW is for OData, creating OData project. How can you find out the log for an OData service? How can you find out the log for an OData service? So the transaction code is /n or /IWFND slash error underscore log. So this is a place where you will be seeing the errors. If there is an error in the OData service, and you will be having one more thing called as IWFND slash traces. IWFND slash traces. So this will be used for tracing the OData service. So how much time? How much time it has taken? It has taken for for getting the for getting the uh, how much time it has taken for processing the entire payload which we have received from the third party system. So this IWFND will be based on the user name. Will be based on your username. So you based upon the username, the basis or security will configure this. So in real time, whatever the payload which we are receiving or whatever the response which we are sending, in order to track whether we have sent successfully from SAP or not, or whether we have received to SAP or not, will be dealt by this IWFND underscore your traces. So this is one of the most important thing. So this I already covered you here for data material. If I go to this data material, if I say see IWFND, and here you can see the performance trace and see the user. Based upon your specific user, you can see your performance trace as well as your payload trace. In this payload, you will be finding out the payload, whatever the payload which we are receiving, you will be getting it over here, or whatever the payload, whatever the output we are sending, we will be sending out over here. So this is the one. Now execute this, and if you can see how much performance it has been taken up for running of that OData services. Okay, so this is one of the most important thing. Next, if there is any runtime error in the OData services, where can we find? Where can we see the logs? Where can we see the logs? In this IWFND error log. So this is the transaction which is used to see what are the runtime errors. How you will be reading the OData input? How you will be reading the OData input? How you will be reading your OData input? So if you go back here, so in the URL, I already told you this, in the URL, so what exactly you are looking for? See, the set. So this is the one which we are looking for, and what is your condition. So this is how you will be looking. And once you get this, I'll go to my DPC extension class, right click and go to ABAP workbench. So if I go here to get entity set, get entity, now if I go to the ABAP source code, so here you will be having your data which you will be coming over here in your source name or even your entity set name. Okay, so we will be sending the error response in ER entity. We will be sending the error in your ER entity. Whatever the error or whatever the success, sending everything we will be sending in your ER entity. Okay, so this is what. Now, how you will be sending back your OData output? How you will be sending back? Via ER entity. ER entity. You will be having a, we will have this parameter. In this, we will fill up our details. Okay, this is one way. The other way is when we are doing a post call. Post call, we will create a return structure. Return structure of type BAPI ret2. You know this. BAPI ret2, and we will fill these details. We will fill in these details. Okay. Can you tell me the architecture of your OData service or the flow of your OData service? So you have to tell, so from SEGW, what are the steps which you will be creating? Creating a project, creating the entity types. So go to SEGW, create a project, create the corresponding entity types, and create the associations, and then click on generate. So SAP will create 4 classes. So you have to tell those 4 classes: MPC extension, DPC, and DPC extension. So these are the 4 classes it will be creating. So once it will create this, based upon the operator or based upon the HTTP method, based on the HTTP method, we have to write the corresponding logic. We have to what is this word? We have to redefine. We must redefine the method. And we need to write the above logic. Okay, so this is called as a architecture. So if I'm using a multi-client architecture, how we need to get the OData, how we need to get the data from your specific client. So that means I have a development system. This is not working. Okay, I have connected this. 1 second, guys. So this is also one of important interview question. I'm going to Paint. So this is my development system. So in this development system, they can segregate this system into multiple clients. Okay, they can segregate their system. Now I want to get the data specifically from this client, or I want to get the data specifically from this client, or I want to get the data specifically from this client. How can you do that? So in the URL, we need to specify. In the URL, we need to specify from which client we want to get the data. We have to specify. So how you will be specifying? Like client, and you will be providing your client number. So like how you are providing those here. So here EBLN is equal to, in the same way client is equal to, you will be specifying your client number, let's say 400. So like this you will be getting your data. Now I want to read the single value single value. I want to read the single value. Where you will be writing your above logic. In which method you will be writing your above logic. In which method you will be writing which method. I told you which method. I know everywhere you have to write it in DPC extension only. In that, in which method you have to write your above logic.
Get entity.
Okay, get entity. So get entity will read one single record. So I want to read the multiple values where I will have to write your logic. Get entity set. Get entity. Get entity set is the method you will be writing. What is the difference between get entity set, and get expanded entity set when you will be using these three methods? So get entity is used to read single record or single structure. If you have multiple structures also, if you want to read only one single structure, you will be writing your get entity. Whereas get entity set used to read multiple records. Next, get expanded entity sets. If you have a header and item, if I want to read both header and item for one single header, if you have multiple items, so in that case you will be using get expanded entity. So it will get expanded. Okay, so like this. So this is the difference between. So do you work on streams and patches? So say no, I didn't work on streams and patches. So batches are mainly used to transfer the data. If you have, let's say, if you have 1 crore records to be transferred, it is possible to transfer 1 crore record at a single time? No, it is not possible. So to avoid that, we will be using your batches, but say I didn't work on that. Streams are mainly used to transfer the PDF contents, the attachments. If you have any attachments, so that we will be sending with the help of your streams. So I'm just giving a highlight. So, but tell them I didn't work on that. Okay, if I want to send the data in the form of batch, how can we send the data? How can we send the data? So let's see that. So you will be having a method. You will be having a method. There is one method where we have to write down your ABAP logic. I'm also telling you that. Update, get entity, expanded, stream. So this is for your stream. And for batches, you will be having one more method. First, we need to go ahead and execute that method, and then we need to write down that logic. These are the two matches. So operation start and operation end. These are the two batches. These are the two methods which we have to execute for writing your code in the form of your batches. So when to start your operation, when to kill our operation. So these are the two methods. Okay. Now, what is meant by deep entity set, and when you will be using this? When you will be using this deep. If I want to post the data, if I want to post the data in SAP, we will use this. We will use this deep entity set. Deep entity set. Okay, we'll be using this deep entity set. So if I have header and item, header and item. So if I have only one single header to be posted, so then which method you will be using? Get is always read. Get is for getting of your data. So post is mainly used for this. Now in the same way, you will be having something called as update entity. I already told you about this. One second. Even I forgot about this. See, these are all for so this is you will be using create. So when we go ahead to the create and let's go to this. Let's go here and click on create. See, create entity. Create entity. So create entity is a method which you will be using to post one single record entity. Next, in the same way, if I want to post multiple things, so you will be having something called as your create deep entity. So this is the one. Okay, if you have multiple, you have to use create one single record. It is this one, and create deep entity. So that's what I told you, deep entity set. Okay, so create entity is used to post single records. So if I have multiple, then you have to use your create deep entity only. If I want to delete, you have to use delete entity. If I want to update any existing record, you have to use update entity. Okay, you have to use your update entity. So this is the one. Now, can you tell me the sequence of classes that will be gets executed when you run your OData service? What are the sequence of classes it will be gets executed? First thing is the MPC class will be gets executed. Then your MPC DPC class will be executed. Sorry, MPC extension will be executed, and then your DPC extension will be gets executed. Okay, so this will get the connection and this will provide your data. These are inherited from your MPC and your DPC. So why I need to write the logic in DPC extension or MPC extension? Why can't I'm not supposed to write it in DPC or MPC classes? Why? So DPC and MPC are the abstract classes, and DPC extension and MPC extension are the derived classes. Derived or inherited classes. Okay, so you'll always be writing in your derived classes or inherited classes only. Inherited classes. What is the T code to maintain the service? IW underscore service. So this is the path. Okay. So now what is the T code to test the service? IWFND slash GW underscore client. So this is the one. I already told you about this. Okay, in which T code you can see the logs for your OData services. The same question, IWFND slash traces. Okay, how can you extend a standard OData class to pass your custom fields? I have a standard OData class. I want to extend this standard OData class. Okay, this is one more important thing. So now let's go back. Here you will be selecting your copying of your OData project, and you will be converting into Z. I forgot. How to extend the extending the OData services using an, so see, first one, add a new property to the existing entity. Not this one, not this one, not this one. Not this. This is with the Fury app extension, not this one. So he is opening the project. He is adding this. So here you need to select redefine. Redefine from your OData service. My bad. I told you it as copy. So here, when you click on create, you need to select from which OData project you want to redefine this. Okay. So when I click on create, so I just say the test, and I will be saying this as $TMP. This is not $TMP. So now once I selected this, now right click over here or click on data model and redefine from your OData gateway. So if I select this, so it will be asking for your service name. What is your service? Let's take the OData underscore PO underscore DET underscore SRV, and you will be having your version. Okay, so now click on next. That's it. It will just redefine from this service name. It will just redefine from this service name. That's it. So the standard, you don't need to change it. So once you click on that, it will automatically. So what details you want, you'll just select all those details and just click on finish. It will just select all those details and everything. It will be just automatically created, and you can go ahead and do your changes whatever you want. Okay, so this is what you need to do it. So this is also one of your interview question, most important interview question. So now after that, you know, so let's suppose I want to extend a new field in my sales order. Okay, I'm using a standard sales order Fury app. I'm using a standard sales order. My requirement, if someone is asking you, have you done any custom changes to your standard Fury apps? You can say that, yeah, I have done this. So okay, what you have done? What you have done? So I have a standard app for my sales order. I have a standard app for my PO. So for this, I have find out the OData service. So how you have find out your OData service? This is also one more interview question. I'll also write down this. How you have finding out your OData service for your standard Fiori app. So there are two ways for finding out your OData services. Okay. So after I find out my OData service, so I went into my OData service. I have created a project. I have seen the service name. I have seen the service name. I have created my own project. And I have copied. I have called the standard. Have called the standard service, and I have done I have done the changes. So this is what the answer is. Okay. Now let me go back and write down that. So how to extend this? So create a new project and right click on the entity, right click on the data types, and then right click on the data model or data types, redefine and OData service gateway. Okay, data model, redefine and provide OData gateway model. Provide and select, I would say, select OData gateway and SAP will open a pop-up window. In that we need to provide the standard service name. Okay, so now what is the purpose of redefining of your OData? To add any custom fields to the standard. To add any custom fields to your standard. So in that case, you will be using this OData. Okay, so next, before that, next, how to find out a OData service for a Fiori app. How can you find out that? So one way is going to Fiori app library. One way is to going ahead with your Fiori app library. 1 second. So the first way is from your Fury app library. So I already told you about this. If I go to this Fury app library, so this is the Fury app library. For all your Fury applications, SAP has created this library. So here you need to select all apps. So let's take purchase order. Now see here, manage purchase orders. So if I select this manage purchase order, you can find out from which version onwards it has been available in S4 HANA, and go to the implementation information and then go to your configuration, and here you will be finding out your service. So this is the place where you can find out your OData service. This is one way. Now the second way is inspect. Inspect. So what is this inspect? Now let me do an F12. So here you will be getting your console. So how it is going to that? How it is going to this link and everything you will be getting to this. So here you have to select. So for mostly Java and HTML, people know about this. So if I go to this sources, here you will be finding out from where you will be getting your from here you will be getting what is the URL that has been selected. Let me click on refresh. So see how it is going, and here if I go to the network, I want to open this as a separate window. This is network. So here only you have to get this. So from here you can get this how it is moving. So here, see here, you will be having your link. So from here also you can find out your OData service, what it has been selecting in SAP. Okay, what it has been selecting in SAP. So this is the second way. Inspect the standard. Inspect the standard Fury app. Fury app. Here we can find the URL, the service, the payload, everything you will be finding. What are the payload and the response? The response. Everything you can find it out over here. So inspect. So via F12 command in your F12. So this is. So have you debugged any OData service, standard OData service? So this is the one you have to tell it. Okay. Now, what is the annotation which will be used to convert a CDS view into your OData service? Yesterday only we have told you this. What is the annotation? OData dot publish is equal to true. So this is the one you have to use the annotation for converting of your CDS view into your OData services. Which tool we have used to test the service? In real time, we will be using a tool called as your Postman. So Postman is a tool, it's an open tool. It's a free tool which has been provided for every service, not only for SAP OData. Whatever the URL you want, you can paste it over there. There you have to provide your every details, like your authentication details, which server you have to connect, everything. So when we get the response in real time, if we are receiving the response in Postman, then we will always say that it's working fine from SAP. From SAP. Let's say if the third party person like MuleSoft is your third party. MuleSoft is saying that we can't able to connect to your SAP system. So how can you test that? In order to test that, we will be using your Postman. So Postman is a generic tool. Okay. So Postman is a generic tool, so which we will be using. So in that Postman, you will be providing your URL and your basic authentication, everything. So whatever the basic authentications and everything, if you are getting your response over there, then you're clarifying same. So if they says that it is not working, we'll always put the screenshot of your Postman. So from your Postman, if you are getting the data, that means absolutely we are fine from SAP. It's an issue in the third party end itself. Okay, because Postman is also a third party tool. From one third party tool, if you are getting the data, why can't you get your data? That means there is an issue at your end only. Please check your details. Okay, this is the one. Now, how to send the error message to your third party system via er entity. So this is a place where, or I can say this as, we will be creating a BAPI ret2 type of your structure, and we'll be filling the error details. Okay, what is meant by your status code? I told you status code. So when we click on executing the OData services, you will be getting your status code. It will be telling us what is the exact output, whether it has been successfully created or not. So I told you this. So here you will be having your status code 200. I told you. So what are the different status codes? So from 200 series, if you see 200 series, that means it's success. It's success. If you see 500 series, that means runtime errors. If you see 400 series, that means auth issues, authentication issues or authorization issues. So can you tell me some of the status codes? Can you tell me what are the different status code? That's the same question only. What are the different status code you will be seeing in your real time? So we will be seeing 200, 201, 202, 404, no authorization. Even you will be seeing the status code when you are running any sites also. And 501 or 502 internal runtime errors. So you will be seeing these status codes. Okay. Now, what are the different CRUD operations in your OData service? What are the different CRUD operations? Get. Oh, these are the ones. Get, put, post, merge, delete, and patch. Which method will be triggered first when you select? No, not that's the method I'll be telling you. Every time when you click on your OData service, it will execute a method called as execute query. It will execute a method called as just 1 second. execute action. So this is the method which will be get selected when you first trigger your OData service. From this action, it will go to your corresponding method. Okay, from this action, it will go to your corresponding method. What is the difference between a put and a post? What is the difference between your put and the post? Post is used to update or to create, I would say, to create the data, to create the entries in SAP. Whereas put is to get the data, and also it will use to update. It will use for update. Okay. Can we use post method in replace of your put method? Yes, we can use it. We can use it because internally we will be writing our ABAP code. Okay, we will be writing your ABAP code. We can do that. No issues at all. Okay, so for do this, firstly we will be using a get call. So that means so to do this, to achieve this, firstly we will do a get call, and based on the data which we receiving, we will use the post call. Okay, we'll use the post call. So can you give me about the brief steps I already provided you? What is the importance of an OData service? It will uses HTTP operations, HTTP protocol, and we can easily connect to any third-party system, and even we will not expose any SAP, will not expose the system to the third party. Because if you take RFC function module, when you maintain RFC, so they can get the data whatever they want. To avoid this, we have came up with a BAPI. So BAPI also we will be creating a BAPI, and we will be creating the business object. So in that business object, you will be finding out the list of all the BAPIs. So that means the entire business object is applicable for third party system. But when you go ahead with your OData service, only this URL is acceptable for. So that means better security purposes, better enhancements and better security purposes, we'll be using this. Okay, what is meant by a system alias in your OData service? Where you will be finding out your system alias? Where you will be finding out? If you click on execute, so see here the system aliases. So it will tell us to which system to be connected and to post or get the data. Okay, now how you will be registering your OData service? What is the T code? /n/IWFND MAIND underscore service. So these are the important interview questions which you will be see in your real time. Okay. This is also one more important thing. How to delete the existing OData service. So this I already told you. And the next one is how to create an F4 help. F4 help. This is also I have already told you. So if I go here, Control F, F4 help. So F4 help. So import your search help. Okay. So this is what we need to show you. So this one I already told you. Okay. So these are your important interview questions which you will be getting in your OData services. Let me keep it in your drive. Here it is. Remove this. Remove this. See. Okay. So this is what. So this is all about your OData services. In tomorrow's class, we are going to start it with your virtual data elements. Okay. So what is meant by virtual data elements? And then we will be starting with your virtual data models. Is that clear? And this Saturday, you will be having a class from 7 to 9 o'clock. This Saturday, most probably by Saturday, I was supposed to complete or it will be extended to Monday. That's it. Not more than that. Okay. Yeah, that's it. We'll meet you tomorrow. Before I signing off for today, any other questions? Okay. I'll be considering it as no questions and we'll meet you tomorrow again and we'll continue the session. Thank you. Thank you all.